Criminal orders are becoming commonplace for Russia, experts say, but cruelty and lawlessness are especially evident in the Russian army and in places of detention. Torture, bullying and moral humiliation in relation to its own citizens have become the norm in the Russian Federation.
Due to the fact that civil society in Russia now is crushed by repression, human rights organizations have absolutely no opportunity to check even some minimal control over the state authorities. Of course, there are quite a lot of cases of torture. They were always in the Russian Federation. At some point it was possible to take them under control, in places of detention, in the police, and they even tried to reform the police.
In addition to the lack of any control over the actions of the security forces, the Kremlin propaganda machine actively glorifies the prisoners, mercenaries of the Wagner Private Military Company. And this is despite the illegality in Russia of private military companies and the recruitment of prisoners in colonies, human rights activists say.
ЧВК «Вагнер», так же как и ЧВК «Редут»,
The Wagner PMC as well as the Redut PMC are secret special forces units that were created on the basis of the main directorate of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Russia. It is obvious that these units were created on the orders of the Commander-in-Chief, dictator Vladimir Putin. Obviously, without state permission there would be no funding, no transfer of weapons, for example armored vehicles. This is the way they are giving prisoners the opportunity to escape from colonies.
At the same time, prison practices flourish in the regular Russian army: hazing, hierarchy, moral humiliation, beatings, rape and even executions of personnel.
Traditionally, there are three spheres in Russia where it was always not safe with torture: the prison, the police and the army. When Shoigu came, all the processes of humanization of the Russian army, which had begun in 2010-2012, were curtailed. Now we are facing round-ups. Now there is a call for military service for conscripts. There are tortures and beatings right at the assembly points. Russian soldiers are being held in illegal prisons and places of detention in the so-called Luhansk and Donetsk People's Republics.
Russia has become a country where there is no clear separation between crime, politics and law enforcement. For example, to bypass Western sanctions, Putin signed a law that in fact legalizes the so-called parallel imports, the importation of goods into the country without the consent of the copyright holders. Russian politicians support drug trafficking and the illegal arms market. According to the experts, after all, the release of the arms dealer Viktor But from US custody in December was not a coincidence.
Well, in fact, they have long wanted to get Viktor But back, and by and large, I'm sure that the arrest of the basketball player was such an exchange fund in order to eventually exchange him for But. Of course, his talents in the arms trade, in my opinion, can be in demand today, and it is not by chance that he actively became involved in Russian politics and has already joined the Liberal Democratic Party, and I will not be surprised that 3 months will pass and instead of the late Zhirinovsky, the Liberal Democratic Party of Russia will be headed not by Slutsky but Viktor But.
Russia is using crime as a tool of hybrid warfare with the West. After all, for many years the Kremlin has been promoting the illegal circulation of weapons and the mafia, as well as corrupting European officials. Reported by Sergei Kulas, Yulia Granovska, UATV News.